Testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys with zero credentials dive past the cliches of masculinity and try to become better friends by actually talking to each other. It's weirdly hard, but we're doing it anyway. Join us.
Welcome to Outside the Manosphere. I'm Skip.
And I'm Carlos.
How are you doing this week, Carlos?
This week, I'm doing well. This is my first day off. I'm a little groggy this morning. It's morning for me, afternoon for you. So my brain's a little slow. I've been up for a few hours. I'm just like one of those days where I'm just kind of in a daze.
I know that feeling. Is Jody back? I see you're back in the den.
I'm back in my little pit. Yeah, she's back.
Yeah.
She's been back for, I don't know, a week now. I've been busily making her Spain photos into Muppets, which is an important thing.
Yeah.
She's back, and I'm back to, because I spiraled. I don't know if I told you, food-wise, I spiraled when she left.
No.
I was just eating just random, like, gross, lazy things and just feeling it in my body. Anyway,
Oh,
so
well, that's a perfect transition into our content for the day. But
I know it is. Anyway, we'll get to that. How's your week been?
Yeah, my week's been good. I have a note to remind myself that I just got back from Norway because I'm apt to forget things like this. And yeah, we had a great time in Bergen, and or as the airport likes to put it, Bergen? Outside the airport, there's a big sign with Bergen, but there's a question mark after it. Like, are you sure you meant to be here? So yeah, Bergen was really nice, very expensive, but it was beautiful. And we went on a couple of nice long hikes, like 10-mile hikes. And
10-mile hikes?
Yeah. And like
Wow.
real hikes, not like strictly manicured path, like scrambling up and down rocks, which was big fun. It would have been a lot more big fun if we weren't both getting older and our knees were having problems. But we managed both hikes without any real problems, and probably helped our knees survive a couple more weeks of life in the process of getting all those like support joints exercise that you don't
muscles, really.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
What did you think of the? Was that your first time to Norway?
Yeah, it was the last of our Nordic countries.
Oh, no kidding, man. See,
Yeah.
I didn't travel enough when I was in Europe. But what did you think of the Norwegian English accent?
It's like fairly impeccable. Or at least it seemed to be. There's like a slight accent, but it's not too bad.
Well,
What about you?
my only experience with a Norwegian English accent, it's not even my experience. It's a TV show I watched called Norseman. I've mentioned it before.
Mm-hmm.
So funny. It's on
yeah,
Netflix.
yeah.
Really, really funny show. But anyway, I didn't even realize that they're essentially native speakers there, but they have a really, at least the ones that were on the show, they had a really thick accent, and it was unlike any other English accent I've ever heard before. But it was very unique to that area, and it was just sort of, it was a really charming sound, and I really enjoyed it. It's funny.
Yeah, I tried my hand with a little Norwegian, but it was promptly ignored and spoken to in English. Because I've been fucking around in Danish a little bit, and they are extremely similar, at least at the like real basic levels. So I tried to do like an order, and they were like, "No, man." We speak English. It's fine.
They don't even appreciate it. They're like, "Man, just come on."
Yeah.
Give us a little taste of Danish.
Well, let's see. The way they greet each other, hi hi, which is adorable.
Okay.
And let's see, like we went to a pastry shop, a bakery called Good Brot, which means good
like
bread.
Good bread. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So there's lots of things like that. Tak means please and thank you. So
okay.
that's very convenient because you can just be like
simple.
talk, hi,
So you were just kind of looking into it just for fun, or because you were traveling around?
Well, I've been doing Danish, and we were up there, and I didn't start before we got there, but I was like looking at it I jumped on there on Duolingo and I was like, oh, I understand all this stuff already.
Yeah.
And because I had been looking around as we were going around Norway, and I was like, oh, I can actually read like a good chunk of this already. Not everything, but enough that I can make some headway and like get the gist of most signs that are for public consumption. So
Right.
I was like, okay, maybe I can put a little bit of practice in here and like try to be a little less of an abrasive tourist. But nope, I failed. Fell right on my face.
You know what? I'm sure they did appreciate it though. I'm sure it is appreciated that you're not just there like demanding that they speak to you in your language.
Yeah.
But you did remind me, being in Germany, here and there, it was the same. I don't speak a lick of German, but like seeing the signs and how close it is to English. I mean, it is close to English. A lot of vocabulary
Hmm.
is Latin based because of French,
Yeah.
but it was very familiar. And I would be driving around in Germany and I would see the signs. I'm like, it's like being in a bizarro world where you can semi read, but not really.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things like it's not like there are words that are like English, but like dat is it is. So like there's things that you can that are kind of close, but I don't think you just like guess. And like O is OG, but they like leave off the G. O is and Eller is or. So they're not real close, but once you get kind of a background in one of those, like it's weird because I've traveled around a lot, pretty extensively to like Kazakhstan and Russia and things, and like you learn a little bit of Slavic, you learn a little bit of Scandinavian, you learn a little bit of you know English very well, and you learn some like Spanish and stuff, and a little bit of French, and like just enough to get you in trouble wherever you go,
Yeah.
and like then you learn some Cyrillic, and it's like, oh, I can kind of read almost anywhere I go that's not way east where they speak kanji, like they, Chinese and Korean and stuff like that, obviously is not the same at all.
Anything in the Indo-European sort of
Yeah,
umbrella.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can kind of like make your way around a little bit.
Right.
So it's kind of funny, but only enough to get in trouble, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Only enough to offend somebody.
Yeah. So anything interesting? I have dentist on my notes. Were you supposed to go to the dentist this week?
No, but I did talk about it, and
Yeah, yeah.
there's no reason to talk about it again because I haven't done a
Okay.
single thing.
I don't know why I had it up there, but it was up there, so I wanted to ask about it.
When you had mentioned your dental work, I had said, "Oh, it's a synchronicity," because I was just on the phone trying to schedule my
Mm.
my dentist thing, and I hadn't done that in 20 years. So, but
Oh, that's what it was. I was supposed to nag you. I had put this note there to nag you because I'm a caring friend and I want your
hey,
teeth to be healthy.
hey, you know what? I appreciate it, and it worked because I mean, I haven't made the appointment yet, but seeing it on the notes, I'm like, ah, man, what day is today? Okay, it's not. It's a work day. I can call and I can make the appointment like after we're done here. So, I
Okay,
mean, we'll
good.
see if I do, but I
Yeah.
appreciate the little push.
Trigger warning, the next section involves the death of a pet. If you'd like to skip it, just move forward about 5-10 minutes.
All right, Skip. Well, let's jump right into falling in love. Are you ready to fall in love?
I'm always ready to fall in love.
So this is again a continuation of our 36 questions for falling in love. I'm sure I've just bungled that title, and we are right up there nearing the 20s. I think the question is, what is your most terrible memory?
Ooh. So last time we did a treasured memory,
Yes.
and now it's a terrible
Now it's
memory.
a terrible one.
Lovely. Okay. So the first thing that came to mind is a memory from when I'm a kid. And like I said, when I was trying to think of this a minute ago, but we probably cut it. It's probably a good thing that like a bunch of things didn't spring to mind. But the first thing that did spring to mind is when my dog died when I was a kid, and it was very unexpected. We were on vacation and we came home and there was just a note on the front door, and like my mom just turned to me. I didn't even read the note. She was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, honey." And I was like, what happened?" And then I found out my dog died. We had a cinder block fence like in between our house and the neighboring house, and
Uh-huh.
most of them were flat on the side. So you know how the cinder blocks are sort of like that figure eight.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's like flat on the sides, but then on the top and the bottom, there's like two holes.
Right, yeah.
And so this wall was made out of cinder blocks, but occasionally some of them were turned sideways, so the holes you could see like a little bit into the neighbor's yard.
Yeah.
And the neighbor had a dog, and our dog had put her head through the hole and couldn't get it out, and broke her neck trying to get out.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was pretty terrible memory, and I'm sure that nobody listening to this wanted to even hear that. But yeah, it was. I remember, just leaving the house and going on my own, and I must have been like 10 or something, and
Yeah.
just like I needed to go somewhere and just cry and like be alone. And yeah, that was rough, man. That
Yeah.
was rough. And like I think it was the unexpectedness of it, cuz like I've had a lot of people die in my life, but almost, not always, but almost always we knew it was coming. And with some exceptions that were just like out of the blue, but they tended not to be people that were super super duper close to me,
Right.
like
Right. Right.
an aunt that lived across the country, and some like an in-law that I sort of knew or something like that. But yeah, that the out of the blueness, and the dog was young, and just yeah, it was really hard. It was
Yeah.
really hard.
No, definitely. That's hard
Um
for an adult, let alone a child.
yeah, I definitely like, in the gambit of death that I've had experienced, there's like a happy medium. Like there's no good losing somebody.
Right.
But we've had like my grandfather died of a brain tumor, and he was given originally a couple years, and he lived 7 years.
Okay.
And it was like a really slow decline where people were taking care of him, and he had shifts and things like that. And that was everybody, nobody wants somebody to die, but it was really hard on everybody. It was hard on him, it was hard on everybody around
Yeah.
him. And that was way too long. It was just way too long.
Oh, yeah.
And then, obviously unexpected is terrible. I feel like if there's a way, it's got to be like with just a little bit of warning. So it's like you have time to say goodbye, you have time to get that closure, but it's not, I don't know, it doesn't drag on so long that it's just terrible for, like, it's going to be terrible for everyone involved,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
like beyond the pale of like the time that you need to say goodbye and to come to terms with things on both sides. And yeah, so that was fun. What what's your most terrible memory?
Well, so unlike you, I did have a memory that just sprang up right away. But then after that, I had nothing. So it wasn't like I had the one tragic thing that happened that I've already talked about on the show. I'll mention it again. But luckily, like I haven't really had much else after that. Although when you mentioned your dog, when I was 10, I was outside frolicking among flowers. I was sketching on my stomach with a drawing pad, and my dog got hit by a car. It was a family dog. It was
Oh,
really more my sister's dog. And man, she just didn't die right away. Or I guess she kind of did. It was more like just reflex, but she was just like howling and running in circles, and it was like
oh, geez.
traumatic. It was so upsetting that of course, I was 10 and I was just like bursting into tears. But it was so upsetting that like the guy that had hit the car, that hit the dog, an impression that I'll never forget is he burst into tears. Like he just couldn't
Oh,
hold it in after a while because I was just there like wailing. Yeah,
oh,
that
I can't
was,
even imagine. That would just destroy me as the
yeah,
driver. That's the
yeah,
driver. Like,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, that poor guy. But yeah, so that when you were telling the story, that popped in my head as well. But yeah, the really the most terrible memory I have is when my old girlfriend, and I had said before we weren't together anymore, but we still had a deep love for each other. I think when she had died, also in a car accident. And man, just all the memory, all the things associated with that, like you just going to the funeral and seeing her in
yeah,
her coffin, and like hearing her father just like wailing, and hearing just people cry. Oh, dude, it's the worst. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had to go to a young funeral like that, but man, it's because she was 22 when she died. She was
yeah,
almost 23, like a couple of weeks away from her 23rd birthday. And yeah, man, just awful. There's really no other way to describe that. And then just like the long term effects of that, and how many people it affects, and yeah, it is to answer the question, terrible.
yeah. No, and that's gotta like, I mean, especially with people, and like with my grandfather and people that have died in my life, and this case with you, I think those things just like they echo throughout your life, and they have these ricochet effects of how you interact with the world and people, and yeah, man. So let's say something. Let's do a happy memory. Let's go back. Last week, I think they went in the wrong order. Like we should have done the terrible memory, then immediately done a treasured one. So I'm gonna do a couple happy dog memories if I can
Okay.
come up with a couple
Yeah. Let's
because
hear it.
this was brutal. Yeah. So like the dog we have now, Zuzu, and she was so, and I think I've talked about her before. She was a very homely puppy. Like I don't recall seeing a puppy before that I was like, that puppy is not cute. But we got, we got her. She was not cute. She was like just out of her like still puppy, but not like the little puppy, like a couple months old. And she had had a couple of siblings in the pound with her that we picked her at the shelter that we picked her up from. But we got her right at the beginning of like right before COVID. We didn't have any idea that we were going to be in lockdown or anything, but we got her, and like a week or two later, lockdown started.
Mhm.
So she never lived in a house where people weren't home constantly. But over the course of her growing up, my older of the boys, he was like, gosh, he must have been like 10. And she got big enough that she was like full grown how she is now. She's like, 2.5 feet tall. And they were running around the yard, and she went right underneath his legs. And for like just a minute, or not for a minute, but like for a second or two, like his legs just swept up. The top half of his body kept moving straight, like just straight up and down to the ground, and his legs swept up, and it was like he was bouncing along her back. Just like she had just like boom. And it was like just watching him. I mean, you've seen videos watching dogs take out kids where the kids don't get like hurt. It's just
Yeah.
hilarious. It's just hilarious. And we got to see that in real life, and it's still weirdly, it is one of my most treasured memories. It makes me laugh every time I think about it. It was just like Jess is way more into comic and slapstick and
Yeah.
physical humor than I am. But every single time I think about his legs just sweeping up like that and how surprised he was, it's just hilarious. It really is.
Well,
so
that
so that's mine.
that really resonates with me, Skip, because on our old property where the dogs could actually just like really just run as far as they wanted to, when we just had the two of them, they would be like playing with each other, but like running, playing with each other at full speed, like biting and as they're running. And on
Mhm.
more than one occasion, I could see their trajectory was coming right at me, and I couldn't get out of the way fast enough. And exactly like you're describing with your oldest. I was like, it was like a stampede, and I'm like bouncing on their backs, and then like yelling at them from the ground because they weren't paying attention. But yeah,
Yeah,
that happened quite a few times with me. I would just get like bowled over by them as they're playing. I mean, now in retrospect, it's funny, but at the time I was pissed off because they were not paying attention. But they're
yeah,
dogs. Yeah, but real quick then, a happy memory with Birdie, the matriarch of the dogs. I got right even when she was a puppy, I got into the habit of doing like little kissy. You know how dogs kind of groom each other with like the front of their teeth, and they'd kind of bite.
yeah.
So I would simulate that with her, and I would just do like little smooches all around her ears and her face, and I would kind of simulate that. And to this day, I do that to her, and she eagerly waits for me to pull away so that she can like turn back and like nibble on my beard to do the exact same thing. So we have like this
That's adorable.
chimpanzee-esque grooming relationship with each other. It's really, really sweet.
That's adorable. So, harkening back to your eating habits while Jody was away, um, and also a couple episodes ago, we did man keeping, and this article is actually what I had thought man keeping was going to be about, which is weaponized incompetence. Have you ever heard of weaponized incompetence before?
I have lived it, but I have never put a name to it before.
So the article is from Insider, and it's Weaponized Incompetence is Back and It's Driving Modern Women Out of Their Marriages by Callie Algram. This is about something that I have heard about before and I've known about before, but I didn't have the vocabulary to describe it. And it's kind of interesting because if you listen go back to the first several episodes of this podcast, one of the things that I kept saying was a lot of machismo and manliness seems to be code word for incompetent. And this was just kind of something that drove home and brought some threads together for me. You said you've lived weaponized incompetence. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, yes. Well, first, let's define weaponized
Incompetence.
incompetence. All right. So we'll define it through a quote in a paragraph here, where the woman is describing it as, you know, everything inside and out about your favorite car. She's describing her partner, a male. All the things that you truly care about, you know, all the details. But when it comes to basic necessities like getting groceries, buying stuff for their children, remembering things about their relationship, they act as if they're incompetent. So it's being called weaponized because they use that to their advantage so that they don't have to do stuff. So when I had said before that I've lived it, it's because Jody primarily does the cooking in the house, and that's purely. I mean, I'm going to own it. That's purely like a weaponized incompetence on my part because I hate cooking, and I don't want to do it. I will eat garbage before I have to do it. And yeah, I've used that against her, and I formally apologize. I don't know that I'm going to change that behavior because I don't want to cook still, but I do a lot of the dishes. I do a lot of the cleanup. I do most of the cleanup. I mean, not always, but like we share. But in my defense, like we do have a pretty balanced, I think, workload in the house. Like, you know, I won't get into all
Yeah.
the details, but like, you know, we both clean, we both do dishes. If there's an imbalance, it's in the cooking, really. That's where
Yeah.
she does
Yeah.
most of it.
Well, I think that's what it's about. It's really about equitable share of the workload. So like you know, there are things that we break down in our house as well. Like there are things that I don't do that Jess does, and there are things that I do that Jess doesn't do. And I don't actually, I think there's less of those now than there used to be. We used to be a little bit more segmented. But yeah, like it's fine as long as this is kind of like what people agree on and how we've worked things out. Uh
Have you noticed any instances in your life, whether it was in the past or even currently, where you were doing that very thing? I mean, sure. I mean, that happens both ways too. I will say, but this is a man conversation, so
Yeah, no, I definitely have. I definitely
yeah,
have. Like, there's a quote in here. Somebody was talking to their male friends, and he was like, he hadn't really considered it in the dating world, but he added that between mothers and sons, it's 100% a thing. And I definitely
yeah,
remember as a youth, this was definitely something I did because there was just shit that I didn't want to learn to do, and I wouldn't do it. And I was like, oh, I don't know how that's something that comes up throughout this article. So, oh, I don't know how. I don't know how.
yeah.
Or like I don't know what to do. And it's one of the things that I think guys do to be like Jess, I was talking to her about this and she's like, "Oh, it's the make a list guys." And it's like, "I don't know what to do to help you out. Make a list for me." And it's a way of like look around, man. You know,
Yeah,
things are dirty, but it's a way of loading even more. Like, "Okay, you want me to do something, you're going to have to do more labor
yeah,
in order to get me to help. And then I might even make you like sit here and do it with me because I'm going to pretend like I can't figure out how to wash clothes. Cause like, come on, man, you can figure out how to wash clothes
right, right,
or wash dishes or run the dishwasher or whatever the chore is. Like this is not rocket science. We can figure these things out. But yeah, there were definitely things that like, I think when I was younger, I think you just knew that certain people like your mom or your grandma, if you were like, would you go get me something? Would you go get me a drink? Or would you make me a snack? They'd do it. And, you know, you kind of get, I don't want to say you get trained into being lazy because that takes all the agency out of it. But there was definitely when I was younger, you know, back in the 80s, there was definitely a breakdown in culture that where that was like kind of a more acceptable thing and then like for like my grandmother that was like what she did, that was her whole
oh yeah,
identity,
yeah,
you know. And like even if you tried to break out and it's actually, you know, my grandmother died a couple years ago or yeah, like last year I guess. And it's one of the things that I've always had a hard time with is there were times in my life where I tried to get closer to her and like it was just like a wall, you know. It's like I want to, I don't want to talk about my past. I don't want to talk about me. I don't want to, like, I want to ask you if you have a snack, want a snack. Are you having fun? Are you comfortable? Are you hungry? But
Hmm.
like that was her role.
Right.
And it was like not something I was breaking her out of. So there is like this thing that changes over time. But I definitely have lived that with people when I was younger.
You made me think of my grandparents, on my maternal grandparents, and it was the exact same thing where my grandfather died before my grandmother did. Lucky for him, because if she had died first, for the amount of time that she lived before or after he died, if he had
Hmm.
spent that much time alive on his own, I don't think he would have anyway. I think he would have just slowly declined
Yeah.
because he didn't do anything for himself. And I've seen that in just men around me, men in the men in my lives, the men in my life.
But you're woo woo. It might be lives. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, probably. This is a perpetual thing. But yeah, the men in my life I've seen, and I won't name people, but like I've seen that very thing where they have like this sort of helplessness to them. And it's not helplessness. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't want to do it. And the article even points it out. They like, I don't want to. And then they don't think past that.
Yeah.
Because the past that is someone else is going to do it for you, in
Yeah.
addition to all the other shit they have to do. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and really, this article is almost up there with, for me, with the why women aren't crazy. Because
Sure.
it wasn't exactly illuminating. It was more like naming weaponized incompetency.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of just like gave it air, because when I'm doing that, and when I have done that, like I've always known that I'm doing. I know that I'm manipulating somebody into an action that I just don't want to do. But it's so juvenile and like obvious. Like they know that's what's being done. Obviously, it's like
Yeah.
the when I was reading, I was thinking it's like a child playing hide and seek, and they think that they're hiding in this awesome spot, but you can see their feet out of the curtains. You know what I mean? It's almost the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like you're the only one who thinks that you're hiding in a good spot. Everyone else knows exactly where you are.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the same sort of thing here. Is it's an obvious bullshit response to something that you just don't want to do, and you're like, come on, you're better at it than me.
Yeah.
Is something I've said before, and
Right.
I have said that to Jody in regards to cooking, because she is better than me. However, when we first started dating, she wasn't better than me. I was a better cook than she was, and now she's like great. And the whole thing is like, yeah, there was a point where, I mean, yeah, I can say she's better than me, but she's living proof that if you just try, you'll get better at something that you're not great at. That you're
Right.
not great at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good article. It made a lot of sense to me, and it's nice to see a title put to that kind of behavior, because it makes people face it.
Yeah. Well, two things that you reminded me of. One was with the kids doing hide and seek. Our older boy, he was perhaps the worst hide and seeker I have ever seen in my life. Like you'd be walking along the street and he'd run like 20 feet ahead of you and just stand against the wall. Not behind, like not in a doorway or anything. Like he'd stand against the wall and like look dead at you. And he was just, I love the kid to death, but he was genuinely the worst I've ever seen at anybody hiding. And it was hilarious. Like it was hilarious. The other thing that you mentioned, which I think is a good point, is like, that it's called weaponized incompetence, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's malicious. I think there is a maliciousness because it gets weaponized, but I don't think that that's always the intent. I think that point of like, I don't know how to do this and you can do it. So that's kind of where they stop thinking, is where it really stops for a lot of guys. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like I think about one of the things that you said about your grandfather dying first and how that was like fortunate for for him that he didn't have to take care of him for all those himself for all those years, is thinking about like old people around that you see in town, and like you'll see a lot of like filthy, dirty old men in Prague. You know,
I don't mean to laugh, but
and
that's just funny. It's true. Yeah.
yeah, it is. And you won't see like there'll occasionally be like an old lady that clearly has like some things going on, but most of the old ladies are like put together. They're fine, they know how to groom themselves, and these guys were not in the situation, or their or their wives just got fucking tired of taking care of them, and
Yeah.
they're like, you can be disgusting, you're not touching me anyway. please go to the bar and drink. But like, you do see evidence of what happens out in the world. And like, I have a hard time thinking of a married couple that I know well where some of this stuff isn't like really atrocious, where it's like embarrassing to be around at times. I don't know what your experience is with like people. I don't want to like throw anybody under the bus by name, but like something that happened recently was a woman that I knew wanted for her birthday. The only thing she wanted was for her husband to do a chore. And it's like a real basic chore, like wash the dishes or do the laundry.
Right, right.
And long story short, he went and did some other project that he chose and did not do that chore. And it was literally the only thing she wanted for her birthday. It's the, what do you want me to do? Give me a list, which is crappy because you can look around and find it. But this guy had the list. It was for her birthday and she still didn't get it. So
yeah. Well, and it's how bad it is when it's out in the open like that. Like you're
Mhm.
aware of it, or if you're out to dinner or whatever, and you see that sort of behavior playing out in front of you, man, I mean, how much worse is it behind closed doors? You know what I mean? And I mean, whatever, it works for some couples, I guess. Like my grandmother declined after my grandfather died because, like yours, that was kind of her identity. She was, I mean, she had a
Yeah.
job as well, but she took care of him. That's what she would do. She would
Yeah.
literally like serve him food onto a plate that he's already sitting at the table, and she would like serve him. Yeah, and so when she didn't have that anymore, it was like she'd been doing it for 50 years. That's all she knows. That's all she did, and she didn't go much further than that. So,
Yeah,
but
that's so sad.
you reminded me though. I mean, she wasn't a miserable person. I don't think her
Right.
marriage was like very happy, but like I don't think that she had adapted to it. I guess you know what I mean. And I don't think she was an unhappy person. She was still had a social life, and we still visited her like often, and she had a relationship with her children, that kind of thing. So I don't think she was miserable, but I mean, I don't think she was like gloriously happy either. But you reminded me though, this whole thing, and that's why I was kind of connecting it to the why women aren't crazy. Is for me, it was like with that article, why women aren't crazy. It was about gaslighting, and when I
Mhm.
was made aware of it, and I've said this before, I kind of put myself in a position where would I be doing this to a man? And the answer was absolutely not.
Right.
And if you apply the same sort of thinking to this, would I be doing this to a man? Like imagine you and I were roommates together, not even like
Mhm.
partners together, just roommates. And I'm like, hey man, it's your turn to get groceries. And you're like sitting at the sofa watching TV and you're like, make me a list. I'm like, man, go fuck
Yeah.
yourself. Go get the groceries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that to a man.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't like flip my hand and be like, oh, just make me a list and not, not turn around sort of thing and just dismiss me or dismiss the person. I wouldn't do that to a man unless I just truly didn't like him or didn't respect him.
Right.
That's when I would be shitty like that to somebody. And even then I wouldn't be in that sort of friendship because like, why would I stick around with a friend
Right.
like that I don't really respect? And yeah, for me, it was kind of the same thing. If you treat a man like if you apply that same behavior to a man, I think any guys listening to this might open their eyes a little bit. Like, yeah, I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't do that to a dude.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to look at it. And like so much of this stuff comes back to these old gender roles, but this stuff was, there's a lot of people, especially in the manosphere, that want things to go back that way, and trad
Yeah.
wives want things to go back that way. But even then, the man was like pulling down the money and doing work and stuff like that. So there was some like distribution of labor, whether you agree with it or not, which I think for our cases, like you can still come and help because being a housewife or staying at home is like a lot of work in itself. So like
Mhm.
the equitable division of labor wasn't exactly great there either. But like women are going to college more now. Women are tending to earn more money, and men are more and more just whining about shit on the internet. And like, it's kind of, even from that mindset, it's indefensible. Even if this was the case, even if this was okay, you're not doing anything to earn this in most cases. Like you're going to a job that maybe makes the same amount, maybe makes less than your wife, maybe a little bit more, but you're both working hard,
Right.
you know? And you come home and then she's got to start her second job of taking care of your baby ass and
Right.
also your emotional state.
Right.
And
And,
like,
and probably your kids too, if you've got them.
and probably your kids if you've got them. Yeah. So like it's just kind of this ridiculous inequity that no self-respecting person would accept if we weren't already ingrained to do this. And I think
Mhm.
one of the things that I've heard is like it's easier to just like not put up this fight and just like ignore it, and it's easier to just do the shit than to
Right.
have the fight to try and get this done, because inevitably what's going to end up happening is that that's so much work, or we're just going to break up, and I don't really want to break up or get a divorce or something like that. So yeah, it's a rough position to put someone else in and just kind of abdicate all responsibility, which is, I guess, what being a man is in this situation.
Well, I imagine that's a gradual sort of disrespect too. Can you imagine going on a first date with someone and they start treating you that way? You're probably not gonna have a second date. You know what I mean? So I'm assuming these guys are on their best behavior. I know
Yeah,
they're on their best behavior, and then they slowly become lazy, and then suddenly the woman's carrying the full load, and that's that.
but I
And
think we don't have to imagine, because we did read an article that was like this, where on the guy's first date he was like, "I expect this from," and it was that woman that was dating
right,
the GOP
because
men.
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
and like they didn't get second dates
Yeah, that's true.
to
That's
prove your
true.
point. Yeah.
Something else that I wanted to say that also I thought about when I was reading this article is most of this behavior. I've said this before that like I've only recently kind of realized that I've been just not even chronically unhappy, just unhappy my most
Mhm.
of my life. And I found that like putting in my share of the work was a lot not even easier. Like it became not even a question. Like, oh yeah, yeah, of course I can go do that sort of thing. And,
Yeah,
like it's not a big deal. Once like that sort of mindset changed for me. So I just wonder how much of this and like I don't know, I think a huge chunk of the population in this world, or at least in the North American part of the world, are unhappy, men and women.
yeah,
Um, and I just wonder how much being depressed or being just discontent or whatever contributes to that sort of laziness and disrespect to your spouse. You know what I mean? I don't know.
yeah.
It popped in my head because I did that mostly when I was unhappy with myself and my life and my circumstance. And
Sure.
now that I'm not, I'm less of a deadbeat. You know what I mean? And I say less of a deadbeat as I qualified before. I am lazy in the kitchen, but I own that, and yeah, that's my hill.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our things that we're lazy about, like, but as long as you try and make it work, I think that's kind of the important thing. But like, it's so easy, and it's so easy to just kind of have this momentum of being and in that defensive position, because it's so much easier to just be like, I don't know how to do it. It's so much harder for the other side to coax people out of that. And because if you say to a dude, this is weaponized incompetence, those are two words they're not going to react positively to. So not only are they doing something shitty, you then have to be extremely careful about tiptoeing around the conversation to rectify the behavior. And that really sucks. Um, but like, I mean, like to your point about the happiness and unhappy, I think a lot of people are really unhappy. I think it's like epidemic in just modern society. But one of the things that I've always observed that made people happy is being competent and independent. And it's
Absolutely.
something that we train our kids to, like our kid. We have an 8-year-old that does the laundry. So if you're listening to this and you're a man and you say you don't know how to do the laundry, my 8-year-old can teach you.
Yep.
Um, our 14-year-old has been doing the dishes for years and years and years. And I won't do the dishes because it's his job. But if he's not home, I will do the dishes. These things, they make people sad on both sides, because on one side, you're not independent. Like you have no ability to live by yourself and do these things. And on the other side, you have to take care of an adult that's supposed to be your partner, which which both sides of that equation are really shitty. Yeah, and there have been times where I was like really guilty of this. Like I was terrified. I almost put down a firm line about changing the baby's diaper, and it was all fear. It was fear. Like especially when he was first born, his bandy little legs, they feel like they're gonna break, and
Right.
I was genuinely scared. Plus, I don't like poop. Not that a lot of people do, but like I had an experience with a job when I was younger where I had to deal with poop, and I swore I was like, I'm never ever fucking taking a job where I have to deal with shit of any kind, and like cleaning a baby's butt was right up there with it. And but I was just like, no, man, you decided to have a baby. This is the
Yeah.
responsible thing to do. Buck up, like figure out how to hold the baby's legs. And I will confess that there are still some things like my wife makes enchiladas that I absolutely love, and I will not learn how to do it. I'm just not gonna because it would. I feel like it would lose something. But there are things that I don't. There are lots of things I don't ever expect her to do either. So it is sort of like that. In that case, it's more of like a breakdown of responsibilities
Right,
than.
right, right.
And enchiladas are not a responsibility. They're a gift.
That's funny. I think we just found the title for this episode. Yeah, I mean, like I throw out the garbage. I mean, we have 3 big dogs that poop a lot in the backyard, and I'm the primary poop collector, the poop
Yeah,
hunter, because they leave it in creative spots. And after a few days of poop collecting in the heat, it's a pretty special bag of shit. So yeah, I mean, we do have our jobs that I accept that I'm doing this, and I don't bitch at her to do it or anything. I do it. And the other thing too is I am extremely grateful every time every single time she makes a meal. I repeatedly thank her because
yeah,
I'm really really thankful that she's done that and
that goes a long way.
yeah, and it's
Yeah,
and I mean I'm genuinely I'm not paying lip service. Like I'm genuinely grateful to have somebody that will like make an awesome meal for both of us. Not, I mean, she's not doing it for me; she's doing it for
yeah,
both of us. But like, I'm grateful for that, and I always express it. I never don't. I think maybe I'm pretty sure I'm pretty good at that. But anyway, so yeah, all this to say is that I'm not an asshole.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. Yeah, I cook as well, and for me it wasn't like a weird thing to do because in my household, my dad always cooked. He got really into cooking. He had the joy of cooking. He went through that entire thing. Like we'd have cook-offs with our extended family where they'd like pick Indian or Chinese or something, and everybody would cook a dish and we'd come together and have like a potluck. So he'd always been cooking. So that wasn't weird. But I never learned to do it from him, and I never learned to do it when I lived on my own because I found it was just cheaper to eat like real basic shit
Mhm.
or like eat out sometimes because buying all the stuff was so expensive for a single person. But then like I cook now, and Jess is a better cook than I am, and I'm always thankful. But I do it, and she's like, it's very cute that you're proud of having cooked and that you're like, aren't you happy with me that I've cooked? She's like, I've been cooking my whole life.
Yeah.
And it is sort of silly. It's sort of like this silly reaction of like, look at me, I'm a basic
Yeah.
competent adult.
I, look, I made you a Play-Doh necklace.
Yeah.
Aren't you so happy? And I will say, I don't think it's weird to cook. Like, I don't think it's unusual for like a man to be cooking or anything. I don't enjoy it, and not that she
Yeah.
loves it either. But like, it's not something that I'm good at, and I don't enjoy it. Like I said, with time and practice, of course I'd get better at it. But I've cooked a million times for myself and for others in my life,
Mhm.
and I take hours to do it. I always have. My timing is the worst with cooking. So like, I'll have this
Yeah.
one
It's
complete
really
thing.
hard.
Yeah, it is. I'll have this one complete thing, and it's like cold by the time I get to the
Yeah.
next complete thing, and then that's cold before I get to the final thing. So yeah, my timing's off. I'm not good at it.
Yeah, no, every once in a while I'll get a bug and I'll want to cook something specific, and then it's like a joy. But yeah, most of the time I'm just like, I put on some like Netflix or a podcast or listen to music, and it's just like I'm chopping, I'm
Yeah.
chopping, and like it's not fun, but like it's just like what you have to do sometime in some relationships.
Well, years and years ago, I found that when I didn't totally hate cooking. I don't know how I got out of the mindset of it though. I found that in order to like we've come to this is becoming like a cooking topic. I don't mean it to be, but
Right?
in order to I think enjoy cooking, and maybe I'll take my own advice as I say this, is to regard it as an activity that's going to take
Hmm.
some time. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like painting something. You're not just going to like have a masterpiece like in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. You have to actually put some energy into it, put some thought into it, enjoy the time that it takes to do it, because you have to do it. We've become like a fast food culture where you're just like, well, I want my food right now, or I
Yeah.
want it to be
Yeah.
delivered
Yeah.
to me right now. And we, in the history of humanity, that hasn't been a thing.
Yeah.
We've spent time cooking for ourselves, and
Right.
even refrigeration is relatively new. So like you'd be cooking every fucking day, unless you had like salted meats or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've had a revolution in my willingness to cook as well. And the reason why is because of children. Because I love my children and I love spending a certain amount of time with them. But then there's above that, it's like it's too much time. Like, I love my kids, but like I like highly interactive, thoughtful activities. And like, an 8-year-old's only so capable of doing things like that. And there's only so much of stuff that I can do on an 8-year-old's level where I don't want to just like bang my head against a wall. So like one of the things that I found pushed me into cooking more is like my wife would be working anyway, and I'm like, all right, buddy, I've set you up with something to do, and we don't do like a lot of screen time. So it's like I've given you a thing to build or a workbook or some stuff to do, and I'm going to be cooking for a while. Like that's when it became an activity, was when it was like, I just want an hour of fucking quiet. All
Yeah,
I'm just gonna cut this stuff in this room and everybody's gonna leave me the fuck alone.
yeah.
And
It became
that's
it
yeah, a
became
retreat.
a retreat. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Let me ask you something else, because I think this is one of the things that Jess and I really do, which is why I feel very comfortable in my non-weaponizing incompetence. Do you have explicit conversations about this stuff with Jody, about like the breakdown of work and whether she thinks it's fair or?
No, not really. I mean, there's some times where we negotiate. Like, hey, you do this and I'll do that.
Hmm.
Okay, and then
Yeah,
we break and then we do it. But like,
yeah,
I mean, in the past, maybe there was a little more tension about that kind of thing. But again, I'll own that it was me being a dickhead because I was just not a happy person.
sure.
But I think now, like we kind of, like I said, we don't even discuss who's going to go pick up the dog shit. I just go do it. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's
Yeah.
so yeah, not really. What and you guys do, I guess.
We do, yeah. Every once in a while, I'll ask her. I'll just be like, I'll feel like she's done a lot lately or something, or I'm trying to do more, and I'll just ask. I'll just say like, do you feel like things are good? And usually the response are, oh, I have the best husband ever. Like all the girls on my roller derby team are jealous, and like you're great. So, and that's very gratifying to hear.
Oh yeah,
But also but also like as advice for other men, if you're listening to this and you're wondering like, how do I, or you recognize this in yourself, like taking the pressure off the other person to do something about this and saying like, is this fair, and if not, what can I do? Or like not even saying what can I do, be like, okay, I'm going to do this. Would it be
yeah,
more fair if I did this, so that they don't have to come down with the distribution of labor and
right,
they don't have to come down with all these things? And if you don't know how to do it, just fucking figure it out.
yeah.
Like say,
Well,
like man up and say, the manliest, most macho thing I could do is to figure out how to do this in as an independent individual.
yeah. Well, and by asking, like, I mean, you stopped yourself from saying that, but yeah, by asking you, what can I do to help?
Yeah,
Well, that's still forcing her to like come up with the
exactly,
role
exactly.
and the tasks, and yeah, just do it. The other thing that I was thinking of as well, I thought about my niece and how she's the only niece on my side of the family. She's the only, I guess, niece slash nephew on my side of the family. And I was thinking how, like, you've got two boys. I don't have any
Hmm.
kids, but if for all the guys out there with daughters, can you
Hmm.
imagine her entering into a relationship where her partner is going to be doing the same thing that you're doing to your partner?
Yeah.
And I imagine if you love your daughter, which I'm sure you do. I'm speaking to you, the men out there. You wouldn't like that. You wouldn't like that sort of. It's disrespectful. And I further was thinking about my niece and how glad I am that the men in her life are all not, I won't say progressive, but they're all good men. I think like
Hmm.
she's seeing healthy relationships, and she's seeing men that aren't like deadbeats, and like between my sister's partner and then her father, and then my stepfather's her grandfather, and then me. Like she has healthy male relationships that I really hope will insulate her from. I mean, that seeing that will insulate her from accepting like a douchebag into her heart. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
she's going to encounter them. I mean, 100%. It's just going to be a matter of she's seen what good healthy men are, and is she going to be blindsided by these toxic men, or is she going to
Right.
be like, yeah, I don't want none of that. You know what I mean? Because she's seen what a healthy relationship is. So anyway, all that's to say is now's the time to change your behavior if you're doing that because she's watching and you're normalizing it for her and she's going to put up with it because that's what she saw, that's what she grew up with. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, little parenting tip from a person without children.
Hey, sometimes they're good. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of times where this stuff goes where we think about this stuff with women and it's like, oh, think about your niece, think about your daughter, but like think about it for yourself. Like think about if your wife was just like, you need to do all the housework. And you were like, what? Like I work 8 hours a day. And she's like, I work 8 hours a day. You're,
Yeah,
I'm tired now.
yeah,
You need to do this stuff if you want it done. And like, or even like, I think about this with like, I mean, it's a little harder to be creative and think about this like with like bodily autonomy, but like for men, GOP men tend to get this stuff once it happens within their own family. But it's like
right.
it shouldn't take that. Like imagine if every once in a while, if you had sex, you just gestated a kangaroo inside of your body. And you were like, I don't want a kangaroo. Like, you know, I don't want a kangaroo. And they're like, if you have this kangaroo, you have to take care of it. And we're not going to let you kill this kangaroo. Like that would be unacceptable. And I know that a kangaroo and a human child are very different, but at the same time, it is about like, this is a thing that just happened to me and I don't want to be stuck doing this for the rest of my life. And they're like, well, don't have sex. But I like sex. I like I like sex and I want to be able to have sex without having to take care of a kangaroo for the rest of my life. Like these you just find a way to have some empathy for other people, even if they're not exactly like you. Like try and come up with an analogy and it won't be great. It'll be a kangaroo. But
Well, and we'll
but
have to
yeah.
touch on abortion at some point, because I don't want to go off on the rails here, but I have thought of that very thing and how difficult it is. I mean, it's really impossible to come up with an analogy
Mhm.
of taking away a woman's right to abort a zygote. There's really nothing. There's really absolutely nothing that I can think of, kangaroo or not, that could be the
Yeah,
equivalent for a man. There's
right.
nothing you could take away from a man that's going to be the same thing. So it's extremely hard for them to be empathetic in terms of abortion. But anyway, before we go
Yeah,
wild,
and well, yeah, and I will say, like, I get that lack of empathy to a degree because when we had my son, like the kind of love and fierce protectiveness and things that you get for a baby, like it made a lot of things that I'd read and watch and stuff, it made them more viscerally emotional. And like, so I get if you're coming in with that like how you have strong feelings about that. I do get that.
Mm,
But like it's not about you in the end. It's about
right.
it's about other people. Yeah, fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's a whole different topic. I think it'd be good to talk about one day with delicately, but I mean, I guess you and I are probably exactly on the same page with that. But again, it's two men talking about abortion and a woman's body is like, I don't know. I guess it's
Well, maybe other men need to hear it
yeah, yeah.
and
That's true.
just like listen to ladies. Carlos, what's bringing you joy this week?
Joy this week. What is bringing me joy? Nothing that springs to mind right away. Not to say I'm joyless, but I keep seeing this thing pop up all over my social media. I probably because my phone is looking back at me with my camera. They can see I'm wearing reading glasses. But there's a new product that's been approved by the FDA called Viz. It's like I guess that's the name of the company or the product itself. I'm not sure. And
Okay.
their eye drop, the corrective eye drops for age related nearsightedness, which is what I'm experiencing right now. And then the article I read, it was talking about how, yeah, when you're in your mid 40s, your eyesight declines. I'm like, whoa, man, that's exactly what's happened to me.
Yeah.
And if I take my glasses off, I can see just fine, no problem at all. But I can't read my phone without like just Walmart reading glasses. Anyway,
Mm,
and so these Viz eye drops that are going to be available, I think for a prescription, they're going to be available in the U.S. in October. I really hope that, side effects aren't like, losing your hearing or something, but like, I hope that they'll be made available in Canada. Anyway, so what it does is it's I guess, one drop per eye. They come in like ampules and like single use doses, and it constricts your pupil, and it clears up your vision for about 10 hours. And there are very few side effects. I think like headache is one of them, which like I hate those. So maybe that's not a thing for me. But I really, really, really hate wearing readers. It's the worst fucking thing
Mm.
that's happened. It's the worst part of aging yet for me. I mean, I knock on wood because I'm sure there's a lot worse. Well, I know there's a
Yeah,
lot worse.
I could tell you a couple worse. Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, to not be able to read like fine print of something like on a Tylenol
Mhm.
bottle or something is the worst because I've always been able to read just fine. And like, yeah, so I have high hopes that this product is not that big of a deal, not without any real side effects, and I hope that it's going to be made available in Canada because I am ready for not wearing these glasses. So that's a joy for me. Just thinking of it is bringing me joy. What about you?
All right. Yeah. So, like I said, we just got back from Norway, and just the hikes were wonderful. I loved the weather. The weather in Norway in the summer is my kind of weather.
Yeah,
Like just we were Bergen is on the water, as like most of the country seems to be, and there's sort of these mountains that have evergreens all over them, and you can't see the top of it in the morning because there's mist, and that rolls out or that burns off by the afternoon. It's a lovely day, and it's like sweatshirt weather. Sweatshirt weather is like perfect weather for
yeah,
me. I
yeah. It
like it.
is. I like it too.
I love that. And then, so we got one day of that, and then it was sunny the rest of the days, which is, I guess, unusual for there to not have that morning mist. But it was really lovely weather. Uh, Being near the water and the mountains and the trees and being able to hike in the cool air just like was really, it really enlivened my soul. I loved it. It felt so good. So expensive there. I could never live there. But but I did really enjoy just like not just a walking path that we call hiking, but like actual like hiking
Climbing
over
and
rock and
right.
stuff like that. It was fun. It was really fun. Yeah. And then the other thing that I'll say, which is actually going to happen in a few hours, is our friend that we usually play Dungeons and Dragons with has bought for Jess's birthday, which was a couple months ago. It finally came in the mail. Betrayal at the House on Haunted Hill
Hmm.
Legacy.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever played this game. It's a game. Betrayal on the House on Haunted Hill is a game where you're like in a haunted house and you explore it. And there's a bunch of rooms on tiles, and you build the house as you're exploring, and you don't know what's going to happen, and there's like encounters and items and omens, and at some point you get to a point in the game where, based on the room you're in and the omen and something and a roll of dice and stuff like that, you choose a storyline, and one of you becomes a traitor. So you're playing in a group of people, and then at that point, instead of all just exploring the house, one of you is like a monster or controlling monsters, and the rest of you are trying to like save themselves or something like that. But there's a bunch of different stories. It's really fun. It changes a lot over time. And like sometimes you're trying to kill each other, and sometimes you're trying to like get a cure, and sometimes you're just trying to get out of the house. But it's really fun and interesting. But this is a legacy version. So it's one that will develop over many games and change, and I'm really looking forward to it, and it'll be fun. And he's letting our 8-year-old play, because normally he doesn't let our 8-year-old play because he's a little too mature. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have a little talk about being a big boy, and it should be a lot of fun. Yeah.
I had another quick joy. That this is a legitimate one, I think. Um, it's not going to happen because I'm going to Texas, but I got a juror summons in the mail the other day. Jody came back with a letter from the sheriff's office. She looked super worried. I'm like, oh crap, what is it? What's this? And it was a juror summons, and it was right in the middle of my time in Texas. So I was like, man, I hope they exempt me because like I've already bought the ticket, and like
Yeah.
I and like an asshole, I never do the refund option because I'm like, what's going to happen? And of course, I get a jury
Hmm.
summons. And I was talking about it with some of the my partners on the job, and they were like, "Oh my god, a jury!" And I'm like, I was kind of looking forward to it. Like, I think that'd be a lot of
Yeah.
fun to be a juror, and not even like as a civic duty thing. I'm curious to do it, and
You
the
love that gossip.
yeah, I love the guy. I want the juice. But I was summoned once before. It was when I was living in Texas. I was just about to move to California, so they exempted me then as well. I was like, I'm going to be out of state. I'll be gone. And so they exempted me. But like, same thing. I was like, oh man, I was just about to be a juror, and they wouldn't have picked me anyway. I don't think. But once they hear like that I have a brain, I think that they wouldn't. And how racist I am, I don't think that they would have wanted me in their pool anyhow. Yeah, that's a joke for anyone who's just tuning into this episode. I'm not racist.
It's just what the racists say, Carlos.
It's just what they say. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. New podcasts every Monday. And if any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com, Instagram, or Facebook. Please like, rate, subscribe to the podcast, or recommend us to a friend. We hope you'll come back.
Bye.
Ding.
That was a fun one.
Yeah,
That was a good one.
I like that one.
It's almost like preparing for this helps.